Welcome to episode 14 of the Exactly Entertainment Podcast. I am Matthew Lyons,
And I'm Derek Jerome.
and we are once again graced with the presence of Mr. Roman Cibolo.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course. And today we are talking about crime movies.
Yes.
Some of the best of them, what makes a good crime movie, and some of our personal favorites. So let's get into it. Roman, what is your favorite crime movie of all time?
Goodfellas is my favorite of all time.
Sure.
What I like about Goodfellas is it tells a complete story from start to finish. Like, it starts when he's a kid, and you see him progress and, like, how he kind of becomes intoxicated by the experience of, living the life of a gangster. And, like, I think it's got a fantastic opening, how it kind of picks up, like, it starts with a scene from, like, the beginning of the movie, and then it goes back, and then it catches you back up to that scene again. I think it's really well done. I love the ending, how he outsmarts everybody and rats everyone out and somehow makes it out alive, considering the mob put a big bounty on his head in real life, and he was able to make it through.
Yeah, and one thing that Goodfellas is excellent at is pacing, and it's a long movie, and the fact that it doesn't really feel long is a huge accomplishment. I mean, the cast, you got De Niro, Pesci, Ray Liotta, incredible cast, very well acted, and it's Scorsese, so you know it's going to be a good movie.
Right.
And Scorsese does crime better than anybody, and Goodfellas is an incredible movie.
Yeah, and I really think Pesci is just a standout character. Like, I can't believe that's the same guy I watched in Home Alone as a kid. Like,
Yeah.
he can play the gang. Even in Casino, he plays a great game. He plays like the same guy.
Yeah.
Joe Pesci is he's just a gangster.
And he's such like he's not a physically intimidating person, but he's the scariest of all of them because he can just, flip on a switch and he can lose his mind.
He always plays a loose cannon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting how, you see like the really good aspects of these movies, in other ones. Like with Goodfellas, you see that progression from childhood to like how they are in adults in The Departed. And, you also see how some succeed at one thing and they don't succeed at another. Like, for instance, Matt, like you were saying, about Goodfellas, it's well paced. Where other crime movies such as The Irishman, I don't think are as well paced. I love The Irishman, but I don't think it quite hit that pacing like Goodfellas did. So it's very interesting to see how they go for the same thing and sometimes they miss, sometimes they hit. And there's definitely a pattern and a formula, so to speak, to these crime movies.
Yeah, and something that's amazing about crime movies is that they can be, so similar, but at the same time so different. Because you have, your Henry Hill that becomes intoxicated with this and then, gets addicted to it and, enjoys it in a lot of senses. But then you have other movies like in The Irishman where, he's a little bit more reluctant. He doesn't particularly enjoy too much of it. It's just kind of a job. Like, this is what he does. And you see that especially with the ending, no spoilers, but he's definitely a mournful person and he doesn't particularly enjoy what he did, and it definitely weighs really heavily on his soul.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
he doesn't look back on it like it's the good old days,
No, it's almost like he regrets it.
Yeah.
Derek, what about you? What's your favorite crime movie of all time?
Definitely The Departed, for sure. And I think you might have the same answer. I don't know.
I do, yeah.
You do? Yeah.
Again, Scorsese. He does it better than anybody.
The duality in the storytelling with, how one character grows up on the streets and then he, turns into like the hero, the protagonist of the story. And then, the other one kind of has a more normal childhood and then ends up going bad. And, that's very interesting. And, yeah.
Again, great
duality.
cast.
Yeah, great cast, great acting, great twists. Great ending. Yeah. I just like the idea of two, undercover cops. I guess they're not both cops. Well, they both are, but one of them's undercover in the police, one is undercover within the organized crime. And it's very interesting to see them try and figure it out. They're both looking for the rat, the mole, and neither of them can find the mole. And even like the close calls come for bring some of the most like suspenseful moments to the movie. And yeah, I think that's definitely my number one. Do you want to talk about why it's your number one?
I mean, you covered a lot of the bases. It's just such a good movie, and I mean, us being from like Massachusetts and like the Boston area, it's great to see some Boston accents, and it. I love the characters in the movie.
Me
You
too.
have, your deranged criminal person and Jack Nicholson's character of Frank Costello,
Yep.
and then you're much more moral person and William Costigan Jr. And then you have like even the side characters like Mark Wahlberg's character, Alec
Yeah.
Baldwin's character, Martin Sheen. All these different um, kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Help me out here.
They're almost likable characters. Usually in movies like this, you find a main character and you kind of grasp onto them,
Mhm.
and that's who you want to like experience the movie through. When something bad happens to them, you're upset. When something good happens to them, you're happy. But this one does a good job of like, okay, I care about all these characters, and you really like feel for all of them.
Yeah, and even when like you kind of hate all the characters because it's definitely every character makes a decision where you're like, come on, you shouldn't have done that.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, Derek, there's definitely a lot of surprises in this movie. It's funny. It's super suspenseful, like you said. It's dramatic. It's really got everything.
It's got an outstanding third act. That's like when I think of that movie, I think of the end. Like the first thing I go to is like the ending. I
Yeah.
think that like I didn't see any of it coming. None of it. Like that was like the first time I was just like I would jump. I was like, oh my goodness. And then it would like something would happen and then something else would happen. And then something else would happen. And it would happen so fast. And I just didn't it caught me off guard every time.
Yeah.
I thought it was really well done.
And the movie, like it does a great job of building up to those moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some action and your normal crime movie things throughout, but it's well balanced so that it's not like too overwhelming, and it all builds up to this this climax where everything goes down and everything happens, and it's not overwhelming. It feels earned and it feels realistic.
Was it a true story? Is it part of a true story?
It was not. No,
No,
it
it's
was
not.
actually based on I believe a Japanese film.
Oh really?
Yeah, and Scorsese adapted it, and
Gotcha.
I think we're all glad that he did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about some of the elements that are present throughout most mafia or crime movies.
Yeah.
And
So
first of
awesome.
all, I think we should start with the heads of the
I was
families.
just about to say that, like the bosses. Yeah.
You got your Frank Costello, you got your Vito Corleone, you got
Uncle Paulie.
you got all of them, and they're all so different, but they're all intimidating and powerful in their own way. You have your deranged characters, you have your organized people, those who put the organized in organized crime,
That's right.
and you kind of have wild cards. Some people who can be methodical, but switch on a dime.
Yeah. I think Jack Nicholson takes the cake for me in this category. That the way he's so crazy and then he can get so serious, he can go from like being your buddy and like making jokes with you to dead serious, like I'm gonna beat the crap out of you. And I thought that was just awesome.
I love, I mean, not to spoil anything, but in the movie, he is crazy and he's, really, really screwed up. But there's a moment when you find out that he basically does a smart move that no one really knows about, but it's it's a it's an intelligent move to make, and he did keep that a secret, and he kept it very well. Um, so that's, I mean, I think I agree with you. He's definitely one of the more entertaining people to watch. Roman, I have a feeling I know who yours is.
Really? Well, actually, like the person that really sticks out to me is Jimmy Conway.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Jimmy Conway is so methodical, and he's got everything like so like under control. And then when you talk about flipping that switch where he just decides to, you know, take out so many people at the end of the movie to just narrows it down to when it gets just to like him and Henry. And he almost, I mean, he was on rampage. I
Yeah.
mean, he had like everything down to a like what's the word, down to a science.
Mm-hmm.
And then just like that, like there's that scene at like the bar where you like can see like in his eyes that he has like everything figured out. And he goes like, and when like in a lot of these mob movies, when these characters flip a switch and they whack somebody, they go as your best friends.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's so hard to like see like exactly when it happens. But I think Goodfellas did a good job of showing like, all right, well this guy's up to something. And yeah, I think the delivery of like everything was really well. I just think it was really well done. Jimmy Conway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like whenever they whack someone, like there's always a reason. Few people die, just to die. Like there's always seeds planted, and that's what really makes these movies so enjoyable. Aside from the performances and cinematography and all these great things, but when you can go back and you can see the little things, um, that the little hints of foreshadowing that give you a greater appreciation for the ending.
Yeah, and like the thing about these mob movies is like, or I guess like the profession of being in like the mob is you're always on thin ice.
Mhm.
Any moment you can mess up or you can get whacked just to get whacked because you say the wrong thing. So that tension is always there. Is this character going to say the wrong thing? Is there something bigger going on? You know, that tension that it brings to like every scene, especially with these bosses, like, oh, is this grunt who's like just joining up gonna say the wrong thing to this boss and like get the crap beat out of him? So that definitely adds the intimidation factor.
Yeah,
And
even in like your top guys, like
yeah,
everyone wants to be on top. Like someone could just take them out to get control. Like no one is safe when they're
no,
in that world.
It's
yeah, and
greed.
that's
A lot of it comes down to greed. They all want like as much money as they can. It's money and power. And when you get to the top, and once you work your way to the top, you get more of both, and
Yeah.
that's what causes a lot of chaos.
absolutely. Um, Something more fun that I want to move to is the terminology. We were using it a little bit earlier with like whacked and stuff. I think that's just so fun, and it really like sets these apart and makes these movies so much more quotable. What's some of like your favorite like either lines or like terms that you'd only really hear in like these movies and have like these types of characters say?
I think one of my favorites is probably like I heard you paint houses. Like he's a house painter.
Yeah,
Because it makes sense and it seems like so mundane, but once you hear it, like you can never really think of that term like the same again.
Yeah, you took mine. No, that's
Oh.
exactly what I was gonna say. No, I'm kidding. That's exactly what I was gonna say. And the thing about it is, it seems so innocent, but it's
Mhm.
like so much more messed up than just saying like, "Oh, I whacked this person," because
Yeah.
it's like, "Oh, you went to their home where they like sleep and like live, and like might have a family, and like you paint their
And you paint
wall
their house.
with their blood." Yeah,
but they're
like it's like it sounds so innocent, but it's like so evil and
Yeah.
so like just the fact that it's in like their own house is just like such a big part of it. And yeah, so I like that one too.
That's one of my favorite scenes in The Irishman, that phone call with, I heard you paint houses. And he's
yeah.
like, yep.
Yeah,
I like that. That's definitely one of the best ones out there.
Yeah. Wise Guys is a good one.
Yeah.
wise guys. Yeah.
I do like the term just getting whacked,
That's a good one.
that is
I like the term like being a made man.
yeah.
They open the way they like explain, like, they open the books and they put your name in it. You're part of a crew, and
Uh-huh.
like that means nobody can f around with you, and
Yeah.
like it's just like you're just deemed untouchable, and if you are touched, there are consequences,
Yeah.
as we saw in Goodfellas.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like good ones that come to mind. Obviously, like being a rat. I mean, that's
Oh, yeah.
that's not too exclusive to, gangsters, but you don't want to be a rat the way they say it and the way they are like disgusted by people who rat people out. It's really
No,
good.
like the real Henry Hill. I watched an interview with the real Henry Hill. He said like he would have like before he actually did rat, he lived his whole life saying he'd rather put like a gun in his mouth and pull the trigger than be a rat, because
Yeah.
the way they would handle that situation was just so brutal that he'd just rather put himself out of his misery.
Yeah. I mean, and like, a lot of these people, when they do get caught, they usually end up, becoming a rat. And it's so funny that, when they're, away from that situation, they're like, oh, F rats, like I'd never be a rat. I'll never rat on my friends. And then
Yeah.
once they're in those person's shoes, they usually do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love some of the, like, the family terms, like the term family, in like a mafia movie, like like this family, that family.
Yeah.
Don is a good one.
Yeah.
Just kind of those, like, the groupings and like the hierarchy of those
Yeah. Yeah.
are really interesting.
It is. I guess now we can kind of move on to another part that's really cool, and just the different codes that like these mobs have are so cool. The way that these people have like a lifestyle, and especially the ones that are like true-ish stories, I guess. Like the way these people live by a code and have this like whole life that's just like in the shadows and happening separately from what you see day to day in the world. That's just so interesting. So what are some of your favorite like rules that like they have? Obviously, rat is like a really good one. They have like other stuff, like you don't want to work with someone who's gonna like have a panic attack. Like they have all different they have different things they live by. So
Mhm.
let's talk about that a bit.
I love like how they're all like so respectful of like women. Well, I mean, not respectful, but like they show respect to women. Like, oh, how's your mother doing?
Yeah.
Um, they're always like super polite around um different wise guys, like wives and things like that. But not so much like a code, but just the theme of like respect.
Yeah.
I
I find that
100% agree.
fascinating.
Me
When
too.
like you meet like a Don, you kiss their hand,
Yeah.
and you're always so polite and things like that. And I think that's so interesting when you have people that commit murder, they rob, they steal, all these different things, but they always show respect to their Don or their
Yeah.
boss, whoever it is.
No, that's
Just like their
definitely part of like that
family.
code.
Yeah.
Like it's always like a kiss on the cheek or like a
Oh
kiss
yeah.
on the hand. It doesn't even matter. Like it doesn't matter who they are. I feel like you notice like every time in those movies when there's some kind of get together, you greet everyone with like a hug and kiss on the cheek, kiss on the hands,
Mhm.
whatever. And you have to be like, these guys are so messed up, but they can go from being like so intimidating and messed up to being so polite
Yeah.
at the
That's
same
like
like,
what's so cool about them though. You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. And like even when you have like these rival families or whatever, when they all meet up to have like a truce, it's
Yeah.
always like, oh, Don so and so, Don's like, it's so fascinating.
Yeah, because they have a respect because they know what it's like to build something like that
Yeah.
up and to lead something like that, even if they inherited it and didn't build it up. So it's like, okay, this guy does what I do. Like that's respectable. Where in like other industries and stuff, say it's like, Netflix and Hulu, they'll just like come
They're
at each
cutthroat.
other all day. You know what I mean? There's no respect there, and it's very interesting. how that all works. I like how like they'll handle, you know, like burying bodies and stuff. It's mainly like the grunt work, or whoever's fault it was, or whatever it may be. That's also another interesting part of it. But I think I like what you said about the respect thing. That's definitely really cool.
Yeah. Another thing is like just like their whole lifestyle, it's so fast. They all wear like the best suits possible. And like even in this might be like, I don't know how accurate this is, but when you have like a movie like The Irishman, every time he whacks someone, like just the mundane act of just getting rid of the weapon, throwing it over the bridge. And I mean, like in the montage, you see how many times that happens, and just how things like that can become like so normalized.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
It's
Yeah,
a
like
cool lifestyle. I feel like it's got like the highest of highs and lowest of lows at the same time. I mean, when things are rolling, they're rolling like they got a lot of money. They live like the best version of themselves. But then when things go south and things crash down, there's no mercy. Like they crash down hard, and you're going to prison. When it's over, it's all over. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
it.
The way you can walk around and just no one will mess with you, or like when you're part of something like this, is just that's just so fascinating. And even like certain cops and
Mhm.
certain people in like power won't mess with you, because that's just how powerful like this organized crime stuff is.
Yeah.
And to see all that portrayed in like movies is just so cool when you take into account music and different camera angles and everything you can do with a movie to show that, just like enhances it, and almost like, what's the word, like romanticizes it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like makes it look even like crazier than maybe it even was. But
I think the best example of that is the oneer in Goodfellas when Henry's walking through, the back of the restaurant, and everyone's around him, and then he goes into the restaurant itself, and everyone's like, "Oh, hey, Henry, how are you?" And he's like, takes him like 10 minutes just to get to his seat.
yeah,
Um, it's awesome, and it's like made for film.
He's
yeah,
got like his guys like bring him like his own table
Yeah.
right up front to see the music.
Hmm.
Like they set everything up for him. Yeah, it is cool to watch. Like
yeah,
like it makes you like it almost makes like you want to like at least like experience that.
careful.
Roman, are you in the mafia right now?
No, no, no. That
And if he was, he wouldn't tell you because he wouldn't rap.
Right,
yeah,
of course.
not a rat.
Um, Another thing I want to touch upon is how, Roman, you talked about greed. And, most of the time when people, the reason for these, their downfalls is usually because of greed. But when it comes to people, either they cheat on their wives, or they think that, they can have this person or this person, and that they think they can have, they can control this person. And that's always their downfall. They don't
Always.
know when to walk away, and they
Yeah,
want what they can't have. I
yeah,
mean, in like Casino, he wants that girl, and he, basically, imprisons her. And that's his downfall.
I mean, he was perfect besides Ginger. Ace was another one. He was methodical. He had everything so organized and figured out, but his wife was a loose cannon, and she got to be like too much to keep track of, and it distracted him from his work, and there's no excuse for that in that life. So it things turn ugly.
yeah. And that's just so fascinating, because like to us, from an outside perspective, from someone who hasn't like been able to get everything they want at the snap of their fingers, it's like, come on, just like compromise here, just like back off. But for someone who gets everything they want whenever they call for it, everything they need is at the tip of their fingers, like it's just so fascinating how that is always their downfall. And that's what's able to take them down. And a fascinating part of that as well is, different enemies. That everyone has an agenda. There's no such thing as just, oh, like things are just rolling, and like everyone's always trying to get someone, get something. No one's ever content, just being. Everyone's trying to make this person happier, or trying to move their way up, or even
It's
if
all
it's
about expansion.
trying to get more land, yeah, expansion, or trying to get more industries and trying to get your hands in as many pockets as you can. And that's just like the nature of it, and that's why it always fails. If someone was able to go in and just find a rhythm and keep it there, they'd be successful. We'd probably see a lot more of this in real life today than we do. And yeah, so to any gangsters out there, just relax and just like
Take it easy.
take what you can get and don't be upset. I'm probably gonna get whacked for saying that, but whatever. Well, this was a great discussion. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah,
We're gonna have to do more episodes like this with different like types of movies. So
for sure.
yeah, this was fun. Any closing thoughts?
I mean, I'm interested in knowing or seeing what the next, big crime movie is gonna be.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
And
gonna
like the
be
next
interesting to
generation,
see.
because it's been
Yeah.
the same actors for a long time.
Yeah.
So
I feel like it's hard to top those guys. The Al Pacino, the Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro. It's
Yeah.
hard to top those guys, but
can't beat it.
I mean, they've had years and years of these incredible movies, and each one of their roles is for the most part different. I mean, look at Joe Pesci. In Goodfellas, he's erratic, and I mean, he was in Casino, but you take his role in The Irishman, when he's so much calmer and collected and quieter, and it's crazy.
didn't you say that Scorsese was directing another movie with DiCaprio and De Niro?
Yeah.
Is that a crime movie? Do we have any detail on that?
I think it is. It's called Killers of the Flower Moon. I
Ooh.
think it's based on a book. I know that, and it's a very celebrated book.
No, I'll have to look into that. Yeah. But it's gonna be interesting. I can't wait to see, how other directors and actors take this genre that's so treasured for what it is.
Yeah.
And it's a fine balance of keeping what works, but also innovating and not having it feel too samey with everything we've seen before.
Yeah.
But
I just looked it
overall-
up, and it's about the birth of the FBI.
Ooh,
That sounds good.
that does sound
That's
good.
neat.
My ticket is already bought.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. This was episode 14 of the Exactly Entertainment podcast. Roman, thanks for coming on once again.
Oh, anytime. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have you back another time. If you guys want to get more guests, let us know, and we'll keep bringing people in. Thanks again for watching, and keep a lookout for the next episode. Goodbye.